like this, so yeah.
Okay, welcome to class 6 of Basic Ideas of Science of Mind 2016, Center for Spiritual Living, Asheville. Take a deep breath. Let it out. And please continue to breathe, as we know that there is a presence and a power in the universe and beyond. It is the creative essence of life. It is light and love, vibration. It is creative. It is all that is. And it doesn't matter what word we try to use to describe it. There is only one. And since there is only one, out of that oneness, each of us came. We are made of God's stuff. We are divine beings. We are spiritual beings. And whatever God is, we are. So we open up fully this night to all that we are. Peace, power, beauty, joy, love, light, wisdom, life, prosperity, happiness. We are made out of the infinite substance of all of life. God is alive and well by means of us, and we embrace, open to, and live that God life now. I claim for each and every one of us more than enough money, vibrant health, wonderful relationships, and joy-filled success. Wherever we place our intention and attention, those thoughts collapse into form. And so with great celebration for standing in front of the buffet of life, taking whatever it is we want and choose, we simply release this treatment into all that Spirit is, knowing that Spirit is all, as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful. Come on in, Betty and Troy.
Hi, Betty and Troy.
Just to allow me to catch up again, I want to thank Betty and Kristen for helping paint John's office last Monday, and Breezy and Drew for painting pretty much for days on end. As we get ready for carpeting on Wednesday and John's office furniture to be delivered. We did receive a big package today that is the big portrait of Ernest Holmes that was in his office. And I wanted a portrait of Ernest for decades. I had one in Miami and it didn't come with me. And I wanted one for decades, and so here it is. I'm really happy that we're gonna have that. And I wanted to also give you a brief update. The kitchen is going to be renovated starting Wednesday. The new kitchen countertops are over in the other building with the light on, unlocked, if you want to go check them out. And then after the kitchen has new countertops, new sink, new faucets, new dishwasher, all of that stuff, the kitchen circle is going to scrub and paint. So if you're interested in helping with that, if you like to really just get in there and go, oh my God, this thing hasn't been cleaned out in 20 years, that's an opportunity for you. Or if you like to paint a little bit and you love the kitchen and the refreshments and all that we share, then there'll be an opportunity for you really pretty soon to do that. So you can either see me or you can call Dory Sherma's number right on the door on that clipboard and let her know that you want to help. But maybe by Sunday it'll all be put back together again. If not, Sunday, don't freak out, we're back to styrofoam. And there won't be any water, so we won't be doing anything but having coffee and some kind of probably prepackaged snack. So that's what's going on, and I'm just excited that we've got a lot of things happening. We've got the peace pole out there from a week ago, a new kitchen upstairs, renovated kitchen down here, renovations in the office area, and I like being able to make changes where changes are ready to have happen. So that's what's going on in your center, and if you come in on Sunday and everything looks really different, that's what's happening. How many of you have ever worked in the kitchen circle before? Great, great. The sink is 43 inches.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's what started it all. We can't have more than one person scrub pans. We want to scrub pans, but there's no room for us to scrub pans. And I went, we will create scrubbing room for you. And after that, things kind of snowballed. So that's what's happening, and I'm delighted. Last week was a really important week in our spiritual development because we spent 2 weeks looking at hidden beliefs. And then last week, we learned how to flip them around into an affirmative statement. And your job was to go home and make that statement over and over and over again to forge new pathways in your brain to unhook those old, repetitive, negative, stinking thinking thoughts and to regrow parts of your brain that would be affirmative and uplifting and inspiring and supportive so that you can move forth in life without having to be your own worst enemy, but your own best asset. So my question is, how did it go? Susan's going, I wasn't here, I didn't do it. Who did it? Margaret, what happened?
Well, mine changed.
Good.
First, my affirmation was, my money is here now. And after I was saying that for a while, it came to me that it's safe to have money. And I'm thinking, well, of course it's safe to have money. But since I said that, it must mean something.
So have you been saying it's safe to have
Yes, I've
money,
been
and how's
saying
that?
both.
You're saying
And
both?
it feels, when I say it, it's such a relief. I feel such a relief. When I say it's safe to have money, it's like, yeah, it's safe to have money. It's
Excellent.
safe to have money. Like somebody was gonna take it from me. If I had it, somebody was gonna get it.
Right.
So it's safe to have money. I can have money. Yeah.
Really? That's big. Wonderful. Mike.
It really worked. And if I might, can I tell a quick story real quick?
Sure.
Wednesday night, me and Dylan, I was bringing Dylan home, it was about 8:30. I had other refugees coming from Buford that were gonna stay at my house. She couldn't get up my driveway. And we're talking in the middle of the road, and we were, I just pulled up, they were there already, and we're talking, and my neighbor comes out. My across the street neighbor comes walking down the road, drunk, pulls out a gun, sticks it in my buddy's back. What are you doing here? Bah, you got, I'm like, dude, these are my friends. They're gonna stay at my house. Bah, stuff got stolen from my yard. Right, so he just freaks out, right? I had to talk to him. And it was like, I was just so enraged by this, And then I started saying, I forgive you, and I accept you as you are. And I think about John always says, thank you for this opportunity for me to practice what I preach. Yeah, I'm not resentful anymore.
And no one got shot?
No.
Hallelujah. And you're not resentful, and you look different.
More relaxed.
Yeah, definitely.
That's because I accept all of you just the way.
Thank you, Michael.
It's nice to know I'm not an idiot.
Could I just ask so I can follow, what were the affirmations that people were doing on?
What was yours, Margaret?
No, I don't mean what the
Oh.
specific, like, what was the form of the affirmation?
Sure.
That was the assignment.
Well, we took the hidden beliefs that were not serving us, whatever they will be. They were very different areas of our lives. And then we learned about affirmations, and we flipped them into an affirmation.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone wants to throw their
I got-
affirmation
I got
out
an extra.
into the room, what was your affirmation? Judith?
Mine was, I am valid.
I am valid. What else?
I am valid.
For me? Oh, thank you.
And what it turned into was, I am in my right and perfect place. And it helped me be in the now.
Good.
Instead of being in the present, instead of always projecting about, I have this photography opening on Thursday, and I was like, but once I said I'm in my right and perfect place, everything just fit. And everything's fine, it is exactly the way it's gonna be, and I'm okay with that. And a lot of times I'm not, so,
Up until now.
up until now, exactly. But today, I'm in my right and perfect place, and I am valid, and I'm in the present.
Good, 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 yay.
So,
affirmation if you don't wanna have a story, you don't
Well,
have
it
to.
was, I am free and have more than enough money and time,
Mhm.
but I changed it to I am open to receive.
Oh, good.
Great. Now, why don't you take it another step to I receive?
I receive.
Because you can be
Alright.
open to receive, and that's lovely, but you wanna receive.
Sweet, thank
Yeah,
you.
you wanna actually bring it in. Good, 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 good. Who else? Just throw your affirmations in the room. No one else had an affirmation. Why do you think you, pardon me?
All is well in my world and everything works out for me.
All is well in my world and everything works out for me. Wonderful. And now you have a husband who's happy and not thinking poorly of you. It's a good thing. Margaret, why do you think, Jane?
I have, my affirmation was, I am free to do what I want.
I thought it was I am free to write.
Well, I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm just creeping up on it.
That's okay. So take what you can accept and move forward.
Yeah.
So I am free to do what I want.
That's it.
Before you know it, you're gonna be writing again.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, okay.
Linda,
I accept everyone as they are and I think clearly.
I accept everyone as they are and I think clearly. And have you been thinking more clearly?
Until yesterday, yeah.
That's all right. Anyone else? Anna?
Mine was, I have a better life now with a bunch of money.
I have a better life now with a bunch of money. Good, 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 good. Remember, you want them to be your words, words that evoke a feeling. They're called evocative words. And they can be anything. They don't have to sound like anybody else. Who else? Margaret, why do you think you were relieved?
Because it's the truth.
It's the truth. And what was the feeling that relief replaced?
Anxiety,
Anxiety.
yeah, not being able to hold on to money.
Anxiety,
Yeah.
fear, worry.
Mainly anxiety.
Anxiety,
Yeah.
wonderful. So if you have a certain number of units of attention that consciously and subconsciously you can use, let's say for easy math you have 100. And if you have beliefs that may be subconscious or unconscious, that's why we call them hidden, that you are not really aware of, but that take those units of energy and focus, then you start losing units. So how anxious were you on balance in your life?
How much was I aware of?
No, how much do you think you were just carried around anxiety?
Maybe like 50.
50%?
Yeah,
That's a lot of anxiety.
yeah.
So here you've got anxiety. And I know that until recently you were not able to sleep.
Right.
So when you had that anxiety actually keeping you from sleeping at night, anxiety that you weren't safe with money, but then you didn't have enough money, that all kind of multiplies. How about the feeling, Judith, that you're not focused in the here and now, that you're projecting into the future or you're thinking about the past?
I mostly, when I'm like that, I mostly project into the future.
So how many people worry about the future? Or think it's not going to work out or catastrophize or something like that? Just give me a percentage, because this is pretty universal.
Say about 40% for me.
So then just for ease of math, you're left with 10%. You started off with 100%, and because these internal things are going on, taking up your awareness and your attention, you only have 10 units left. What are you going to do with those 10 units?
Hoard them.
What?
Hoard them.
How can you hoard them? What do you think those units may be used for?
Walking, not running into things.
reversing the use of some of those other units.
Focus attention on reversing some of those other patterns and those negative units. Do you think that you need any of those units to live, to work, to go grocery shopping, to get dressed, to talk on the phone, to do a to-do list, whatever that may be? Do you think that you may need those units? How many units do you think you might need?
Lots more.
Lots more than the 10, right?
Right.
And so when you don't have those units, then you're running on empty or minus, you're running a deficit in your life. And have you ever had the feeling that things just start piling up?
Yes.
That's because you've used up all of your units on other things like, oh my God, this isn't gonna work out. What have I done? I'm not really that great of a photographer, and now I've got this show, and what if nobody buys anything? Although I think people have already bought stuff, haven't they?
Yeah.
So already, people have bought stuff, but no, still in our neuroses, we will go to, what if nobody buys anything? And what if I lose all my money? And what if the earth opens up and swallows me? And, you know, just all that crazy stuff.
But for me, actually, I'm not that way right now. I am,
Right, but you used to be.
I used to be.
Yes.
I
And
used
do
to-
you feel relaxed
I
and
do,
energized?
and I feel accepting of my own talent now.
Right. So what we want to do is we want to get back to our 100 units. What might help us to get back that life force? Susan and then Margaret.
To use them as seeds, put them out there.
Use what?
The units that you have, focus on, the units are the positive, right? The
Well, they're
positive,
just attention. It's not positive or negative.
okay.
You've got 10 units left.
I would say invest them in more units.
So you would invest them in turning around, just like Jennifer said, in turning around these other units. And they're just symbolic of all of the things that we do. So don't get hung up on, well, I don't have anxiety about money and I'm not focusing on catastrophizing in the future. We all have ways of dispersing our energy. Margaret and then Troy.
I would use gratitude.
Gratitude.
Multiply what I had and to exaggerate what I'm
Troy.
Well, first thing I do is the top 50 is anxiety. I cut the anxiety down to the lowest level possible and then invest that.
So how would you cut the anxiety down?
I'd have to look at the situation and see it more clearly. And I'd have to realize that I'm projecting outer fears and everything is, it's an inner world, but I'm living outside. It's not.
So we have anxiety, fear, future, is that how you spell futurizing? I just made up that word.
Yeah, sure, why not?
So Troy is saying first become mindful of what's going on. And the way that I notice that is that I check out my state regularly. I just check in. How am I feeling? Is my heart racing? Am I creating frustration? Am I angry? Am I feeling wonderful? Is everything coming up roses? How am I doing? And if something comes up that is not the way that I want to create my experience, then I look at it. And what I'll do is I'll go, wait a minute, back up. What happened? What did I do? What triggered me? Or what did I set up in my life to do this? Because we are all probably bigger saboteurs than we realize. So I would become mindful. I would check myself out. And if I saw something, well, my gosh, being late used to be one of my big pitfalls. So much so that when I was young, my sister would tell me to be someplace half an hour earlier because I would be half an hour late. And not only would I be late, but I would be frustrated, I would be panicked, I would be angry because I never seemed to be able to manage time. It always seemed to get away from me. And so I would act out with time. Let's say I'm late. I'm going to check myself out and go, wait a minute, what's going on here? What happened that I set myself up to be late? How did I do that? What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs going on? What am I trying to say to myself through this? And then I can look at that, bring it out into the light of day, and ask myself a very important question. Is this true? Is it true? Am I out of control all the time? Do I have no power in my life? Are things conspiring against me? That's not true. What is true? Using the analogy of late, what is true?
You're
Always
always on
on
time.
time.
I'm always on time, and one thing that helped me was that I'm always in my perfect and right place, doing exactly what I need to do at the moment I need to do it. Period, end of story. If the clock looks like I'm late, I'm not late, because I'm in my perfect and right place at the perfect and right time. And that helped me, because I would say I'm on time, and I would go, no, you're not, you're half an hour late, that's ridiculous. So the idea that I was in my perfect and right time, doing what I needed to do, being where I needed to be, helped me let go of that frustration and upset, which then frees up these other units. So that instead of subtracting from our aliveness and our creativity and our joy and our energy, it lets us keep it and perhaps even starts to add and grow to that. Who had their hand up? Jane.
Well, in keeping with all that, my problem is my mind is just has a kind of a mind of its own. And so it makes things disappear. So therefore, I was very excited about my affirmation last week, and then it just absolutely dropped out of my mind. However, suddenly on Saturday or sometime I had some free time, and I went and I swept my deck and I got it all set. And I thought, why am I doing this? And then I thought, well, it's to get ready to write. Well, yeah, so that it just sneaks.
Well, that's very normal, Jane, very normal. What happens is it's a whole psychological process. It's a defense mechanism. We go blank. Has anybody ever gone blank? You see it right here. I'm asking someone a simple question, and they are looking at me like I'm nuts. Dylan says, I go blank in school. Will you please write a note to my teacher? Dylan goes blank, it's perfectly normal. And everybody in the class wants to jump in and answer the question, right? We go blank because there is a defense mechanism that kicks in to try to keep us safe. But in keeping us safe, it keeps us stuck. And so you are demonstrating that you are pushing beyond the limits that you have been comfortable with into something new, and it's a little scary. And that's okay. There's actually very little difference between fear and excitement. The difference between fear and excitement is a breath. So when you are afraid, you go, and when you're excited, you go, breathe. Just breathe through it. You're doing great, Jane.
Well, I just wish, if only I would have remembered, after.
You did in the back of your mind.
You did it,
Some
yeah.
part, some sort of invisible part of my mind.
What I want you to do is to have you start giving yourself credit for what you are doing and stop criticizing yourself for what you're not doing. Because you're on a fast track right now.
Ah,
You're busting through. How long has it been since you've written? How many
oh,
decades?
years,
How
yeah,
many?
Yeah, I don't know, but I can't remember.
30, 40,
Yeah.
50?
Let's see, yeah, I used to write all the
I
time.
know you did. You were a very accomplished author. You had a book.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you got successful and it scared the pants off of you and you stopped writing. So now you're picking it up again and that fear is back up. Breathe. Give yourself pats on the back for what you're doing
Oh, well,
instead of criticizing you for what you're not doing. And that's true for all of us. You know, if we can start to become our biggest cheerleaders, then we will stop sabotaging ourselves and sucking the very life right out of us. So we have certain units of attention, of life, of energy, whatever you want to call it. And when we go in repetitive old patterns that are destructive to us, we suck some of that up. And when we come to a place like this and take a class, and Barbara's so ridiculous, she wants me to say that thing 1,000 times a day, that's totally absurd. when we do that, we feel relief because we've freed up some of those ergs of energy. We have things change because we have more units of energy to be creative with. And we feel better, we're happier. You know, we wake up in the morning and the colors are brighter and the sun is brighter and we're ready for the day because we've got 100 units of energy to take forth. Instead of waking up in the morning and going, oh God, I've only got 3 units yet. I'm, lucky if I'm gonna stay alive throughout the day. Really, I wonder how much depleting ourselves of that life force contributes to being sick.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. And so if we can become mindful and challenge ourselves and say, wait a minute, is this real? Is this true? Is this really what is the truth about me on a spiritual level? Or is this some kind of baloney belief system that I've picked up along the way and I just never had the discipline or the wherewithal to get rid of it? And if it's just a baloney belief system, then we're at choice as to whether or not to keep it or to do something to shift it. And what I learned when I was younger was that a lot of the things that were my baloney belief system had someone else's voice. What kind of voice may it have been?
A parent?
Critical parent.
Exactly. What did you say, Judith?
Critical parent.
Critical parent. My mother's mantra to me when I was a child was, what's wrong with that child? Because I didn't fit in at all. What's wrong with that child?
There we go.
And so I internalized that and I could hear that. What's wrong with that child? What's wrong with you? Because I didn't fit in and probably most of us didn't. And frankly, I'm glad I don't want to fit in with this world. A bunch of crazy people. I want to be crazy happy. I want to be out of this space-time hallucination that everything is real and that you can't change things and that you're only a physical person and you're separate from everybody. I don't want to be a part of that mindset. I want to be part of the mindset that says there's something more going on here. There's an energy and a creativity and I can feel it moving through me. And there's something within me that is more than I ever dreamed possible. So when I would listen to that voice and I would just be charging through life exhausted and trying to make everything fit, this was before I found Science of Mind, then I would hear this voice that there's something wrong with me and I would notice, oh, that's my mother's voice. And so that would trigger off the mindfulness. And by being mindful, I could look at it, and I was getting some good therapy at that time, and question whether or not it was real, whether or not it was true. Is there really something wrong with me? I mean, look at you. You're pretty successful, you're pretty smart, you're handling things, you're young, but you don't have the decades of work under your belt to have the things that other people have and have that lifestyle. But really, is there anything wrong with you? No. And then I could change that and I could start shifting it. And then I would start to say things like, there's something right with me. There's really something pretty special about me. And that has served me well. And say it over and over and over and over and over and over again until it forms new pathways in my brain. And I would stop attracting people to me who would then say there was something wrong with me. And I would attract people to me who would say, wow, you're pretty special. And that's one way that I validate the change that I've had inside of me, is when I hear it or see it coming back to me from the outside. Jane.
So you've used that word mindful several times. So what do you mean by that word?
Think about what you're thinking about.
To be aware of?
Yes, to be aware.
Okay.
Notice what you're feeling. Think about what you're thinking about.
I see.
Be aware of what's happening. One of my favorite phrases is, what's going on? What's going on? And that pulls me out of the situation, gives me an ability to disconnect a little bit, go, what's going on? And if the circumstance is going awry, going down the tubes, I can back up and say, what happened? What did I do? It doesn't help me, what did anybody else do? What did I do? And that frees me up to what can I do different. And when you do that, you get this surge. It can feel like relief, it can feel like power or excitement, but you get a surge, and that's how you know you freed up some of your energy. And that freed up energy not only has you feel better, but I believe it has your body heal. I believe that it sets circumstances up in your life to be more the way that you want them. It opens up doors instead of slams them shut. That freeing up of your energy just kind of bubbles out of you. Have you ever seen anyone that just radiates?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Dalai Lama?
Yes.
That man has all his units.
Yeah.
He does. And even on TV, you can see it just radiate out from him. So what we want to do is we want to stop bleeding the life energy right out of us. And we want to let that natural state fill us up and be able to use that to where when we speak our word, when we set our intention, when we decide how we want our life to be, then we are commanding so much more to bring that into form than if we're just barely squeaking by during the day. Troy.
You know, one of the thoughts that I've been thinking about recently is how our society, our country, society, depends on our anxiety and fear.
Sure, fear mongering is big business.
It instills that anxiety. Oh, my breath isn't right. I gotta do something. My hair isn't the right. I'm not right. You know, and so we're all walking around in bundles of anxiety, bundles of nervous energy, and somehow I think that's a crucial link, is to cut loose of what society or others, the power that they exert, and take your power yourself.
Take your power back. It's called being outer referenced.
Yeah.
Or inner reference. And if you're outer referenced, it's very important to you what other people think of you. There's a wonderful book back there by Terry Cole Whitaker called What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. But if we have been brainwashed into that there's something wrong with us and enter into religion and potty training and puberty and all of that stuff. And so we've been brainwashed to think that there's something wrong with us, and then we try to change who we are to get the approval of others. We have to look a certain way, we've got to put a certain product in our hair, we've got to do this or do that. We are outer referenced and we can never get filled up by that. People think that if they get this approval and if they get that acknowledgement from outer, that they're going to have their 100 units because they got it from somebody else. And they don't realize that the only thing that you can do to have your 100 units is to stop bleeding them out. And then you go back to your natural state. And when you become inner referenced, and this teaching is great for that, it says you are an individualized expression of spirit. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way you are. You cannot screw this up. You can never separate yourself. You can never do anything that's going to deny your good. You can only be a being of light and love, having a physical experience on planet Earth. When you start to get that who you are is not contingent on how you look or what other people think of you or what you have, then you have a sense of self that is solid and strong, and those units of energy begin to fill up because you're not opening up holes to spray them out with your garden hose or however it is you do that. Susan.
So I've been thinking and jotting notes. First of all, a few weeks ago, I wrote down that Barbara's teachings are guaranteed. I love them. Don't even question it. But as I'm writing, when I bought my new car and I cleaned out my old car, one of the little Sunday cards were there. And it was the first thing I put in my new car, and it said, I am prosperous. And I see it every day when I get in my car, and I read it, and I repeat it, and so I am prosperous, and then it became, I really am prosperous.
Yes.
I
Yes.
I really am. And so that is an affirmation. and it's more than prosperous, it's abundant, because abundance is all the areas. And so I just was getting that part of my abundance is me and my light. And my light and the I am me just attracts fabulousness. So that's a good thing, but now I'm receiving it and I'm accepting it. Because I think fabulousness was probably there, and I was going like that at times in my life. And then I went another step further. This has been a very busy few minutes. I used in my life, I used my poverty, my really sad stories, and I used it so well to get attention, help, stuff. I used the system in a legal way, but I knew every way to use it because it was a survival mechanism. And it was pointed out that that's not to be ashamed of. I needed to do that, I needed it then. But I did it for so long. And it was like having a crutch or crutches and then fearing my own muscles wouldn't work anymore. So I feared showing prosperity and success because I feared I'd stop getting from systems and from others. Because I got a lot of help and things and stuff and attention, a lot of attention. So I think my hidden belief, or one of them, was I can't do it on my own, probably because I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, strong enough, this enough, that enough, rich enough, whatever. But crutches are wonderful when you need them. But then you need to I need to use my own muscles, and I feel that I'm on my own, the powers that are within me. And so that's my little
Big
story.
step,
That
big
just,
step.
it's a lot of steps, a lot of steps. So I have a new story, and my
And
new
that's
story.
exactly one of the things we're gonna talk about tonight.
And my new story is this light that just is attracting in a different way.
So when you tell yourself something long enough, you believe it. And that's why it's so important to listen to what you tell yourself. So that if you're telling yourself something that's not serving you, like, I can't do it on my own, I can't have prosperity because then I'll get off, not get all of this assistance, excuse me. And like we talked about yesterday, there's an element of that, of fear of our own magnificence and our own strength. You know, a lot of us were taught not to be strong, not to be bold, not to take chances, not to go for it, and to be quiet and to be controllable, and this is not a gender issue, this is male and female. To be controllable, but to be controllable, you've got to really hold yourself in check. It's like that bushel basket thing. We put a bushel basket over ourselves and huddle in that, trying to be accepted by outside circumstances and people. And what we do is we convince ourselves that we are not who I, Barbara Waterhouse, am saying that you all are. And in that convincing, we start losing the amazing energy that's moving through us, that we have, our God-given right to have an amazing life. We have to let the pressure out of ourselves. We have to deflate ourselves and get smaller to fit in that story. And one day, you know, what is it, the fear of being the butterfly, at some point, the fear of being the butterfly was not as strong as the pain of staying the caterpillar, however that Anais Nin quote goes. So to stay the caterpillar is so painful that I'm afraid of being the magnificent me, not so much. And a lot of times we'll do that. We'll create so much pain in our life that we are willing to, you know, go out into the unknown and do something differently so that we can experience life a little bit better. And haven't you done that?
Yes.
I mean, that's what, for me, that's what divorces were for. To create so much pain in my life that I would be willing to do anything other than that. I would be willing to die, I'd be willing to live on the street, I would do anything other than stay there. And I didn't die, I didn't really live on the street, a little kind of bit, but I didn't die, and things got much better after that because I stopped bleeding the life force out of me. So one of the things I want you to start looking at, and part of this is that after I do the affirmation class, a lot of people are just kind of brain dead. Did you do the affirmations? No. Did you go brain dead? Yes. So I'm trying to give you a reason to think about what you're thinking about. Look at what Michael did in a week. Look at what Margaret did in a week. Look at what you can do with your life if you start to just stop moving against yourself. I mean, some people still don't like it when I say you are God. You are the individualization of spirit made manifest as you. Period. End of story. There is no outside God. The only God you will ever see is the God that looks back at you in the mirror. Period. That's a lot. That's a lot. That means you command all of the creation of heaven and earth. You hold life within you. It's your life, nobody else's life, but you hold it within you. Drew.
I like residing in grace.
Mm-hmm.
I like this feeling. I like this feeling and feeling it from others that are just getting there. And I look back at, and using the units analogy, I look back how many units that I would beg and borrow and steal and try to stuff 5 pounds, 10 pounds of stuff into a 5-pound bag. I was literally a squirrel chasing my tail on bath salts. Like, I don't know how, that is so much energy. You have to put so much energy into that. And it's tiring.
It is.
You know, and for us Overthinkers Club, it's easy. We can just keep doing it, and then you get to a point where, but being in this light, this love, this grace, this being, it's really easy.
Once you get there, but getting there can be really scary.
Yeah. But yeah, I just like, just take a breath. And when I find myself, and I've gone through this just recently, just like the other day, and just my rear end was spinning out into a ditch, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why is things are going on? Take your foot off the gas, dummy. Stop, take a breath, recheck, reset, look at what you're doing. Oh, aha, I'll go back to the affirmation, go back to what you know to do. And then right back in. I'm like, oh, yes, oh, I'm getting it now.
The nice thing about the unit analogy, it's just an analogy, is that it doesn't take any amount of time to get back up to 100.
Okay.
Happens just like that. You're full, ready to go. Darcy.
So I wanted to agree with Drew, and I was gonna say, it takes a lot of energy and strength to make changes. It's tough, but it's a lot tougher to drag that old crap around with you. It's like a ball and chain around the leg, and after a while, it gets really, really old, so.
And consider that you can make those changes easily and quickly.
Yeah, definitely, and
Because it may have taken a lot of energy to make those changes, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you can pivot and shift instantly.
Right, and the more you do learn to pivot and shift instantly, the quicker those shifts come.
And the better you get at it.
And the easier they are.
Right. Troy.
The 4 factors that you have that suck energy, or anxiety, fear, futurizing the story, it's really all story. It's 100% story.
Right.
To manufacture, to maintain it, and to keep it going, that's a full-time job. There's no room for anything else but that.
Right.
As long as you're maintaining that story, you're not getting anything else done.
And the story creates itself around the central character, which is you, and how you have defined yourself. So if you define yourself as a victim, you're going to create story around that. Current story and past story and future story. If you see yourself in a certain way, then your story will reflect that. And you can shift the way you see yourself to go from maybe a victim a character to an empowered character and see the story in a different light. So here we've got a victim that is saying, I can't do anything because I had a screwed up childhood, I don't have any education, I'm not the right sex, I'm not the right age, I don't have the skill set, I can't do that at a victim state, and that's the story. Or you can look at yourself empowered and say, I can do life because I have learned so much coming up from such a low place. I've grown myself, I've triumphed over obstacles, I've found the strength and the wherewithal inside of me to live even without these outside trappings. I can do anything. And so depending on how you define your central character in your story, the story shows up around it. Is that a spider?
Yes.
Is it a wolf spider?
Should be probably fine.
It's not a daddy longlegs, and we have had wolf spiders, the one with the red hourglass on its
Black
belly,
widow.
black widows, and
Brown recluse.
brown recluse
Oh,
in
that's
this
okay.
very room.
Oh.
So I have a deal with spiders that if you're a daddy longlegs, you can stay, anything else is going to your next incarnation. But Drew, you just go right ahead and take it outside with you, or you can just hurry it along, whatever you want to do. So it's important to look at our story and see how we are in that story and see if we like that character. And then there are even other ways of dealing with story, and that's just flat out to write a brand new story. So that we in one way we have ourselves as a character. I have in my life been very much the victim. In my life I have been very much the superhero, superstar kind of thing. And my story, same circumstances, shifted in relationship to how I saw myself. I saw myself as someone who didn't have enough to eat, didn't have support system. I don't ever remember doing one page of homework in my life. I mean, that's how much there was no support system, that you couldn't get in the house to do homework anyway, so it just never was an option. So there were a lot of years and a lot of therapy, and I paid a lot of money to tell that story over and over again and have people go, oh, wow, oh, that'll be $100. And then I started seeing myself as someone who has moxie, and someone who has chutzpah, someone who has the ability to not let circumstances squish me that would have squished a normal person. You know, I got something special. There's not something wrong with me, there's something special about me, and I started using that to build myself up. And then there's the idea that you can just create a different story. The subconscious mind does not know whether or not you are telling it something today or 100 years ago. It doesn't know whether or not you're telling it something that is valid in time and space. You can tell yourself anything. That's what hypnosis is all about. That's why a hypnotist can take two of these chairs and put someone's heels on one end and the very tip of their head on another, and the rest of them is hanging out in midair. Tell them that they're a board and have 5 people sit on them. Not a problem, they're a board. Someone told their subconscious and their body responded to that. We do the same thing. We tell ourselves things over and over and over again. So one thing that you can do is to create a new story, make up a new story. And I don't mean just tweak the conditions of your past, I mean make it all up again. I was born a princess into a castle. I had everything that I wanted. My life was filled with joy and happiness. Or I was born into a loving home with grandparents who always had enough time, and puppies and kittens and ponies and cookies, and everything was always safe. That kind of thing. However you want to create it, make up a new story, and your subconscious will go, okay, And what that does is that gives you a new mental equivalent for attracting and creating your life. People say, well, I've been poor all my life. I don't have any mental equivalent for prosperity. Well, make it up. Think about it. Well, what would it be like if I had millions of dollars in the bank? What would it be like if I had been born into wealth with a silver spoon in my mouth? What would it be like? How would I think? How would I hold that energy? What would happen? Make up a new story. And your subconscious will grab it just as well as the old story. And chances are the old story is a lie anyway. Sometimes in the grocery store where I see a child throwing a temper tantrum in front of the candy aisle, and the parent grabs them and drags them out and says, you are not getting bags of candy. We're not doing that. I don't care how much you scream. Then I fast forward 20 or 30 years and think, I wonder how that adult now remembers what a horrible childhood they had. How their parent just grabbed them and dragged them out of the grocery store. They didn't get their needs met. They didn't get their bags of candy. All it was awful. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's what we see through a glass darkly when we don't focus on the truth of who we are. And so if you're going to make it up anyway, you might as well make it up in a way where you win, where you're uplifted and you're the smart kid in the class and you get picked first and everything is wonderful. You might as well make it up that way, give that to your subconscious, and then watch how a new character shows up in the story of your life. Before Jane, who had their hand up? Troy and then Jane.
Well, the news story for a lot of us, most of us came to Asheville from elsewhere. We had these old stories. We had these, this excess baggage. We were sucked dry, and in many cases. And I'll use myself and Betty, but just about everybody I know here too, came here and recreated the character of who we are today. And that character keeps getting better and better because we're getting a handle on this thing called creation. So we're with you. We know what it's all about. We're doing it.
Good. Thank you. Jane.
Well, in my case, what I do, and I've done it since I was a little kid, is I make up a story, all right, and I live in the story, and I love the story, and I fly away with the story. And the story is so powerful, it just carries me away. And then it's a real downer to come into.
Is it a real downer now, or was it a real downer as a kid?
Well, ever since I was a little kid. I mean,
Right, but is it a real downer today for you to come back into your life?
Yes.
Or was it a real downer when you were a kid and the life you were coming into was very dangerous?
Well, it was, yeah, but the thing of it is what I do is I turn this story into a fantasy.
You're just a writer, Jane.
I can't.
And you're not letting it out. You're just a normal writer. You need to let it out.
Well, see, yeah.
Boy, when John doesn't write, he's nuts. So you gotta let it out. You create these amazing stories just as part of your psyche. You do that. And when you were a child, you needed to fly away.
Yeah, I really did.
You did. But you don't need to fly away anymore. You have a great life.
Yeah, I do, but it's just very, after using, having these terrific fantasies, I call them fantasies, that just carry me away, and then suddenly I realize, oh, here I am, in
So
my house with my cat. I mean,
So, what you might want to do is become mindful and challenge that thought. Is being in your house with your cat really so awful?
Well, it's not the terrific, wonderful place that
Make it that.
just came.
I know.
Make it that.
Huh?
Make it that. Make it that terrific, wonderful place.
Yeah, I can't, no, it's impossible.
You're in process right now. You're doing great.
Yeah.
You're doing great. You are.
Yeah, I just look at my cat, I think, geez, I should be a cat too. Tipper just.
That's your
How,
story.
how much are you in your life getting ready to let another person in?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't mind, I mean, I was married 30 years.
Uh-huh. And that may be what's going on, is that you're growing to the point where you may be willing to let in another person again. And when you come back from these wild fantasies that you will not share with anyone else by writing down, you look at your world and go, oh, it's just me and the cat.
Yeah.
But you're in process, you're doing great, you're busting down walls. You're
Well,
doing great.
Okay, okay, thanks a lot. You are.
So, who has looked at stories in their lives? And does anyone have anything they want to share about that? Margaret?
I've added to my childhood stories of how I would have wanted things.
How you what?
Stories of how I would have wanted things
Oh,
to
I see.
happen, or how I would have wanted things to work out.
Yeah,
And it's kind of balancing out the negativity, not so much negativity, more positive things. And it's made a big difference in how I feel about myself.
gee, I know that my fantasies just lift me up, and I feel, that's why I'm always in a good mood, because I live in this fantasy.
We all live in a fantasy world, Jane. Who else? What are your stories about your stories? What are your stories about your stories? Susan?
Well, I have a PS to mine. When I used the systems and other people and outside help, I thought it was because I couldn't do it on my own and I needed, and I wasn't good enough. But in order to have done that, it was very clever and I was very strong. And so all the time I could have, but it was a different form that I was looking at.
In the circumstances that you were in, you were being very smart and self-reliant.
I was.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I got me, who I was then, got from there to there, to there, to there, and here. I mean, because who I was then, that was an amazing feat to have gone anywhere up.
And how many kids?
3 on my own,
You raised 3 kids on your own. Yeah.
totally.
Pretty self-reliant.
One was 4 months old when I made the decision to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because that was easier than staying in the
The
situation.
pain of remaining a caterpillar was bigger than the fear of being a butterfly, and off you went. Good, 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 good. So see how as we look at ourselves differently, the story shifts? Instead of, boy, you were on public assistance or whatever, which I was also. Instead of that, it's, wow, you landed on your feet, you raised 3 kids, you learned all this great stuff. You know amazing people. You've done a lot of work and now you are prosperous and happy and successful. Way to go, and you really are. Really, really. If you say it enough, if you think it enough, if you act on it enough, it cannot help but become in physical form. And it's easier to move into prosperity than it is to move into poverty. Boy, to be poor, you gotta work it. You gotta work it all the time, all the time, all the time, and it's exhausting.
It was.
It's easier to be rich. Were you gonna say something, or you were just acknowledging how hard it is to be?
It's almost like magic.
What?
All of this is
Like
to
what?
come from that, and have your life just change. It's like magic.
The universe supports us. Life lifts us. We always have more than enough, and I think you were saying that maybe all of that was there and you were blocking the doors. We have to push hard back to keep life from moving into our world in love and joy and prosperity and health and happiness and success. We have to really work at it, to hold it back. And we do it through anxiety, fear, futurizing, and our story. And like Troy said, it's all about the story. The story that we believe upon awakening of what life is going to be like, what the day is going to be like, what the hardships are going to be that we have to work our way through so that we're a good person. You know, it's instead of just sitting back and going, I'm going to work on my head and my life will show up. running around like a squirrel chasing its tail on bath salts, is that what you said? That just keeps us from really stopping and looking at ourselves in our life. And to stop and look at ourselves in our life gives us the doorway and the key to having the life that we know deep down inside of us we have a right to have. Jane, and then we're gonna break.
Okay, real quick, you know, like I think Susan, that's such an achievement to bring up 3 kids all on your own, and I've done some interesting things in the past, and but you know, I forget about them. They're just.
You should write them down.
Huh?
You should write them down.
I should have, but
You were a expeditionist,
well, yeah, but see, I did.
not an exhibitionist. An expeditionist.
Thanks for the clarification.
Are we on, Judith?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. I got an email right before class from someone who sent a very large tithe into the Center for PayPal. Someone I'd never,
Not really,
Drew, thank you. Someone I'd never heard of before.
Thank you.
And lives far away, and put a little note that said, "Thank you for changing my life."
Wow. Nice.
We have half a dozen people that are listening to the summer prosperity class that have sent in their increased income flyer and are sending in tithes on the increased income, and someone hand wrote this 2-page letter in 2 weeks of all of the things that had happened to her since she started the increased income program. Watching it online, you know, there's no time and space, so it's as if it's all happening in now. Yeah. So that was great, and then there was someone else who sent in a gift and had in the notation basic ideas of science of mind. So people who are watching online that we have no idea who they are taking this class with you. And I just think it's so amazing the impact that we have. The website for me has gone kind of, we've been doing this for well over 10 years and never had anybody contact us about anything. And so it's kind of gone 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 to 64, and it's getting in that place where it's not every day, but it's certainly once or twice a week. Someone contacts us and has something to do with the website, and they're nowhere close to where we are. And so for all of those of you out in webland, I just want to welcome you to this class and all the other things that are on the website. You are always in your perfect divine place.
Yay.
If we could get a video or a tape or something from some of those people that we could play in class and hear some of their successes.
Well, I can read you some of the letters. I've done that on Sundays before.
I think that would just be awesome.
Right.
You know?
Remember the picture I showed you of the woman with the big family? Pardon me? I don't know. I'm not, geography is not my genius, and I don't try to make it. But she said that they always thought she was so wise, and all she was doing was repeating things that she heard on the website. But you know, it goes from one person to a bunch of people, and then they take it out in the world, and all of a sudden everyone is thinking differently.
She was very wise.
She was very wise. Yes, she was, Nina, thank you. So one of the chapters that we've been reading has to do with personality. And in that, he talks about the depression and how many people were laid off, and that people did a study on that, and they found that the people were not laid off because of lack of business. They were laid off because other people didn't like them. They were hard to get along with. They were cranky. And that chapter, to me, is kind of superficial, in that if you're trying to get other people to like you, you're outer-referenced and you're not really in alignment with who you are. But one of the things that he's saying is that if you know who you are, that you are spirit-informed, that you are an infinite mind as you, then you act that way. And he's saying that when you start acting that way, you become a nicer person. And that it's easier for you to get by in the world if you're a nicer person. And what I want to talk about just a little bit is that doesn't mean that you're going around trying to be, you know, a doormat and let people take advantage of you, or not speaking up when you need to speak up, or not being who you are. It means that you're not a curmudgeon. It means that you're not just nasty. I'm really working on my language here. It means that you're not critical and cranky and irritated with people. Because, Nina,
It means you're not a vengeful God.
it means you're not a vengeful God, right, right. So what we do in getting clear about who we are is to allow that to come through us. We sing, you know, there is only love, and it's important to let that come out. If there's only peace, let there be peace on earth, let it begin with me. It's important for us to be peaceful in our world. It's important for us, I believe, to hold ourselves to a higher standard if we are spiritual beings, to act like that. I love what Charlie Shepherd says. He says, you are God, now act like it.
Yeah.
And letting go of things like judgment and criticisms and vengefulness and wanting to get people back, revenge, that kind of thing. It doesn't serve us on our spiritual path. And I'm sure that when Ernest wrote this chapter in this book a long time ago, that looking at the surface level of personality seemed like a good idea, but I don't want you to get caught up in that. What I want you to know is that you are amazing. And if you can trust that and let it out, you'll always know what to do, you'll always know what to say, you won't need to have to tear people down to try to build yourself up, and your life will in fact work better. Linda.
Because I tend to be really more scientific about some things. I really like the fact on page 61, they're talking about originally employers hired people by their IQ, which is intelligence.
Right.
And then they decide, he said, because they considered it a reason for giving them a particular job. And they found it was any good thing to be carried too far. In the last few years, keen, hard-headed business employers have come to see that IQ is not nearly as important as PQ, and that's what they're now insisting upon.
Personality quotient instead of intelligent
The
quotient.
difference in earning was, at the end of 10 years, because I figured 10 years was long enough to see how people would do based on their IQ versus their ability to get along with other people. Brilliant IQ on the average are making $3,000 a year. PQ men were making $10,000.
Right, so they were making over 3 times as much. They were not as smart, they didn't do that well in school, so by the outward reference, they shouldn't be reaping all of the harvests of life, and yet they were. Why? Because they were comfortable in their own skin, and they liked other people. And the only reason that we have difficulty with other people is if we are not comfortable in our own skin. The bully on the schoolyard is terrified, and he thinks that the only way to be safe is to beat everybody else up. If you're comfortable in your own skin, you're a spiritual being, you're creating your reality, you have all of the power and the support that you could possibly dream of, then you can afford to give people a little slack, you can afford to see the best in them, and you can lift people up instead of put them down. That was great, Linda.
And the reason they didn't do as well in school
So
is their
partying.
priorities were other people and being involved in community things and so forth. That too.
So they were out for the joy, and the joy creates prosperity. Being happy brings money and success into your life. It brings health into your body. It doesn't bring it in, that's the whole law of attraction misnomer. It allows it to reveal itself, that which is already there. That happy people have more money. Happy people are healthier. Happy people have better relationships. And in order to be happy, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. So both of those chapters on the personality of value or the value of personality, whatever it was, and finding life's riches really go together. In that, if you can get clear about who you are, like Susan said, all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you go, wow, I really am prosperous. It really worked. Because that which we are is already in alignment with prosperity and abundance and health and wholeness and success and love and joy. But as long as we feel threatened in life because we are insecure, then we have to fight with life. So if you find yourself fighting with life, you're fighting with life because you're coming from a sense of lack, and you're never going to have all that you want when you're coming from a sense of lack. It goes back to taking those urges of energy and just getting rid of them. So what we want to do is feel safe in our own skin, comfortable in our own skin, and then have enough of that to look at other people and go, you know, forgive me for being trite, but I'm okay, you're okay. I'm liking myself, so I can like you. Wow, I am loving myself, so I can love you. People who criticize other people, Michael, have the criticism going on inside of themselves. And if you can let other people off the hook, you let yourself off the hook. And if you let yourself off the hook, you'll let other people off the hook. So there's definitely something to this idea that nicer people, without being syrupy and self-demeaning and what is that, now that I'm in TA, dumb Dora doormat. You know, you don't want to go there, but you don't have to be rough around the edges. It's like, really, do you need that much drama? Did you have to take that person out just because you could? Did you really have to? You don't want to be that way. You want to be the person that can rise up. If you have an opportunity to be generous, take it because you created that. If someone is in your experience, they are there by right of your consciousness. So what are you going to do? Are you going to tear them down because they're here with a cold and, well, that means you must be confused thinking in your consciousness and what's wrong with you? No, that's just a reflection of the way you see yourself. Instead of, here, you look like you need a hug and a tissue. It's going to be okay. Came to pass and not to stay. Everything is fine. So when you can be that kind of a person, then you're lifting the energy up. And when you lift the energy up, money shows up. That's one of the nice things about this teaching, is the better you feel, the more you get. Because that's what you're holding up in front of the mirror. The worse you feel and the more you allow yourself to act that out, either on yourself or those around you, the less you get. And you'll make yourself sick, you'll screw up things that you're creating, you'll close doors instead of open them, and I think it all comes back to whether or not you're comfortable with you. So I love this idea of starting off with, I'm safe, if that's where you need to start, and then move to, I'm magnificent. I am a light bearer. I am a creative force in the world. I am infinite love and light and wisdom. I am freaking amazing. And that's where we want to get. And then when we're there, it's so easy to see that in everyone else. You are amazing. You're amazing, amazing, amazing people. And we all rise up together and our bodies heal, our money shows up, opportunities that were going to someone else divert and find us. Things just unfold. We feel better. We have a better life. Everything is working out for us. And they're all intertwined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we always have 100 points.
And then you always have 100 points and you're flying high.
Yeah, you always feel that way, and you're always in the now, and you always have 100 points.
Exactly. Exactly. Drew.
I, like what Susan said, she was pushing her prosperity away. And, you know, and once, like with me, once I started going, hey, I'm worthy, and I just started accepting it, like a compliment. 10 years ago, you couldn't compliment me. I wouldn't accept it anyway. No, it's gotta be somebody else's. That prosperity, no, it's gotta be something, no, it's mine. And now, it's like, I've had people tell me that I'm completely different from 2 or 3 years ago. They're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How do you, and I've had in the last 3 months, I've had several people, 4 people tell me, you sound younger. And the last person that said that, without skipping a beat, you know, accepting a compliment with ease, it's like nothing. Before, it was like, no, I don't deserve that, you know, but I do deserve it. And without skipping a beat, I said, because I am. I literally am 10 to 15 years younger, because that old chasing my tail made me feel old. It was so much energy. Oh, I am over here now, looking at that going, wow, what a waste of time.
Well, what will your body do with 100 units of energy? What did Louise Hay turn, 90?
Yes, 90.
Who turned 90?
Louise Hay.
Oh.
Yeah. Last week.
Yeah,
I think.
she's 90.
She's got all, she's a religious scientist.
Yeah,
She's a religious science minister, calls herself a religious science practitioner, because any good minister is a practitioner first. Yes. But she's got all of those units of energy. And so her body regenerates, it regrows, and it, as Margaret coined the phrase, euthanizes. Euthans.
Wait, that's much like euthanasia.
Euthanizes.
Invigorates?
Euthans.
Gets younger!
There you go.
So, have you noticed that when you're stressed out, you look old?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your body didn't have the units to regrow, rejuvenate, heal, fix itself. And when we get on top of our life, then the body does what it normally does, which is to go back to a state of health and wholeness, which is our natural physical state. We don't have to go find health, it already is here. We can get away from it, but it's always there going, come on baby, when you're not looking, I'm just gonna be you. And so something happens and the stress goes away, the body chemistry changes, the organs regenerate and heal, and the body youthens. You know, some people say we're supposed to live to be 300. I don't know if you're gonna go to 300, you might as well just keep on going, but we age ourselves prematurely, we all do. And it's not what food we eat, forgive me, it's not what supplements we take or what therapies we have, those all can come into alignment with us doing what it is we need to do, but it is all about our mental state. It's all about our mental state. And so if we are opening up our mental state, then we may go to someone like Dr. Donna and say, help me get into alignment, because boy, I've beaten this body up a long time, but you have to have an open mental state to go find her, or to go and do something differently. It's all about what goes on in your head. It is not what goes in your mouth, it is what comes out of your mouth that is important. And so as you are focusing on what you want to experience in life, everything else comes into alignment. And you may decide you're going to go paleo. You know, that's great, but that's an effect of a shift in consciousness. It is not a cause of something.
It's another placebo that we can embrace and believe in.
Well, and I believe that for me, my body likes certain kinds of food, and when I acknowledge that and give my body that, my body is happier. And when my body is happier, it feels better. So I'm not against that, but that is not cause, that is an effect. The cause is the mental shift that allows us to move into a healing mode, whether it's with affirmations or treatments or meditations or supplements or diets or acupuncture or massage or anything like that. Then it's the shift inside of us that allows the outside to take form. And we never can forget that everything happens from the inside out. That if you want to have a better life, you have to be a better person. And that doesn't mean that you're a goody two-shoes, but it means you're not a jerk going down the road. You know, you can't do road rage and then expect to have this spiritual demonstration. It's not going to happen. You have to clean yourself up inside, and I believe all of it goes back to the idea of whether or not I'm good enough, whether or not I'm safe, whether or not I'm comfortable in my skin. And if I can be good being me, I can create anything I want. And who am I? Who are you? But a being of light and love, infinite and absolute and wonderful and beautiful and perfect, just the way we are. And to get a glimpse of that just changes everything. And when we do that, the things that used to not work out, works out. The opportunities that used to pass us by show up. We have the wisdom and the intuition to trust what is right for us to do, and we have the courage to take action on that. And so we find ourselves in situations that we wouldn't have put ourselves in before. And things work out because we're good inside of us, we're clean inside of us, the energy is flowing inside of us. And so money shows up, people show up, circumstances show up, it's all connected. And the people who don't do that, it's like kind of like the parable of the talents, that they lose that which they have. They get fired in the middle of the depression when it's impossible to find another job because they are not, they're afraid, they're cranky, they're in a competitive universe and they're acting out on that. And so if there's a win-lose, you're going to lose. It's got to be a win-win. The only way to win is a win-win. If there's a win-lose, you're going to lose by the very fact that you have a lose in your consciousness. It's true. It's like Wallace Wattles. The only way to be truly rich is to get rich in such a way that you throw ladders down of success for those people following you to climb up. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
I know I ended that with a preposition, but it's still wonderful. It's still wonderful. And so as we are comfortable inside of ourselves, as we know that there's more than enough, then we can give, then we can open up, then we can lift up. And when we do that, everything shifts. So we go with hidden beliefs. What are we doing? Be conscious of it. What are the affirmations and self-talk that we want to use to shift those? How does that change the way we present to our lives? How does that change the way that we are in our skin and in our world? And then how does that then attract or open up a doorway through which the wonderful things in life can show up? It's all connected. Do you see that? It's really important that you not be unconscious in life, that you not go through life and continue to think the same limiting thoughts, consciously or unconsciously. I don't care. If it's showing up in your life, it's coming from you. It's really important that you have honest self-evaluation and take action on your own behalf to shift that. And if that means that you have to look at some circumstances that occurred a long time ago where you, as well as most of the people on the planet, were severely damaged, and look at that and shift it, then that's what you have to do. If you run from that for the rest of your life, you'll simply be taking that with you like the ball and chain and recreating that in your life. And sometimes that's scary, I understand it, but living a mediocre life for me is scarier. It's scarier than taking a good look in the mirror and say, what are the lies you're continuing to tell yourself? Well, this happened. Yes, but it's not happening now. You already lived through it once. Must you do it every day? It's over. Tell yourself a different story. Make it better. Wow, look what I lived through. Look at that. I lived through that. It never has bothered me how screwed up we are. I'm always amazed at how sane we are after what we have been through. Each and every one of us. How together we are. How conscious we are. How alive we are after what all of us have gone through in life. So don't beat yourself up for being neurotic. Give yourself a pat on the back for being here and for being willing to go for it. And if you go for it, life will set you up and show you all of the things that are hindering your path, and you'll have a wonderful opportunity to heal them and let them go. And just flat out making up a new story is a great way to go. If it's too hard to change the old one, just get rid of it. Make it brand new. I was born a princess. I lived in a castle. We had puppies and kittens and ponies. There were always people there to support me, to give me what I wanted, to teach me, to help me be a really wonderful person. I had all that I needed. That's a story. That's a story that gives me a mental equivalent to be the adult of that child. Instead of looking at myself and going, I don't know how this happened, but that child that I was never could have grown up to be the woman that I am today. So give me another child, that it was normal for me to show up like this. And that it was easy, and that I'm used to life supporting me, that I'm used to having what I want. And the subconscious mind will take that and will build on it and create it in your life. Susan, and then Drew.
I don't know if it was Louise Hay or Sandra Ray, but I remember one of them saying, it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Right. It's never too late to have a happy childhood.
By doing that.
Yes. True.
I even changed, I would say that, well, you know, I was really hard to kill and I survived it, I survived this, I survived that, I survived it. No, I changed that to, I thrived it. I thrived.
You thrived it.
Because surviving it is still means it was a horrible story. No, I thrived,
Right.
I'm thriving.
You walked through bullets without getting hit.
Oh, through fire.
Yeah.
Twice.
Larry Williams had someone pull a gun on him. He was a younger man from, I think it was 5 feet away, and shoot 5 bullets at him, and not a one of them hit him. I mean, that's magic.
Wow.
That's magic. That was his life in St. Louis. And I think that was a real awakening for him on changing his ways, and then he found Science of Mind. But some of the things that we've done, what allows us to walk across fire?
Magic.
We cannot be caught up in the belief that we are controlled by outside circumstances. Otherwise, we'd all be in the hospital. Yeah, and if you want to call it magic, it is magic. There's something awakening in us. It's coming to life, it's birthing, and it results in an amazing life. I really, really, really believe that we are supposed to be living an amazing, blessed, happy, prosperous, healthy, joy-filled life. That is our job. And so we are on the path to letting go of anything that has held us back from that and opening up and embracing that total living experience. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to be. What are we, full of spiders today?
Yeah, they're coming in from the cold.
Okay.
Or it's close to Halloween.
Maybe that's it. And so if we do that, and if we're good inside of our skin, and if we're comfortable with who we are, then the snowball effect of physical form just starts to melt. That's where we are. That's what we're doing. Stay with your affirmations. Think about what you're thinking about. Listen to what you're saying. If you don't know what kind of a person you are, ask your friends. They'll tell you.
They will.
They will. What kind of a person am I? How do I come across? How do I think? Darcy?
I think we should all give ourselves credit for taking the step to be
Yes.
better people, because there's a lot of people that don't even have the remote interest to make any changes.
Right.
And the fact that all of us in this room have made the effort to get to know ourselves better and improve our lives is a huge step.
Yes, it is, and you're better off for it.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm a whole different person than I used to be, and I give myself a lot of credit for being persistent and working at it, and, you know, recognizing that there's much more out there for me. So
Right.
I think we all deserve that credit.
And I think it's a statement of our courage. Because some people will say, oh, I have to look at those places I buried away. No, it's not worth it. But it is worth it. What is it? If it didn't kill you, it made you stronger and you're not dead. So go ahead and look. Anything else? A little housekeeping. This is Anna.
Yeah, I have a question. The way I understand this class is to make a new story
Yes, make a new story.
and practice every day until I believe
Yes,
I have a new life.
yes,
With lots of money.
yes. Money shows up, money is an effect, money is always an effect of consciousness, always. Darcy,
Did Jimmy's memorial service get pushed back 1 week
yes, it's
to the
not,
26th?
yes.
23rd.
23rd, yes. The
The 23rd.
Yes, and that was by request of her family.
Oh,
So just a little housekeeping. This is class 6, it's an 8-week class. Excuse me, that means it's ending 2 weeks from tonight. Usually, there would be a 1-week break where John and I would be at the beach. I'm not sure whether that's going to happen, since bridges are still closed, A1A is washed away, and I'm not sure what shape our hotel is in. So if we are going to be here, I'm just gonna start the next class right away.
That will be Halloween night. And I don't know if that makes a difference for people with kids or not.
I'll be here.
That'll be the 31st.
Well, I may be at the beach. So just letting
You
you
got a
know.
boat.
Because you brought it home, you have a boat.
I know, that was so amazing to me.
that was, yeah.
107-mile-an-hour winds right where our boat is stored.
Wow.
Wow. No, it's over here now, though.
It's over
good.
here,
It's good.
and before, when we first brought it up, they had a tornado in that same place. So,
Might wanna move to a different state.
no, I don't want to move to a different state.
Yeah,
I want them
They
to
went
fix
in
the
flood.
state I like.
yes, exactly, exactly.
A1A and flag.
What I want to do, I want to do a 3-book series. It's called the Holmes Papers. Looking. Let me see your papers. Do you know what those are, April? No. It's the Anatomy of Healing Prayer, The Power of Your Word. You don't have them? So it's a 3-book series, and I used to do it in Prac 1. And it's just, it allows us to really explore different essays that he wrote, to go deep into treatment, which I want to take this class into spiritual mind treatment and actively have you treating for yourselves and maybe each other. Maybe if John's going to be home a while since he wrote a book on it. But it's an interesting class to me, and you're always better off when I'm interested. And really, there aren't any brand new people to the teaching in this class. What is your name in the back?
Patricia.
Except for Patricia, and you seem to be right on top of it all. Yes, good. So that's what I'm looking at teaching, and that will take us through the whole year. So we'll do 1 book for 8 weeks, and then 1 book for 8 weeks, and then 1 book for 8 weeks.
Cool.
Because they're really good, and in the practitioner material that we've used for many years now, none of that is included, and I think that that's a wonderful work of Ernest Holmes that we should be delving in and exploring and playing with.
Is it the new class?
Yes, new class.
Could you please list the books?
No, I can't.
Oh.
I'm not sure about the listing, but we'll have them.
Oh, okay, whatever.
We'll have them, and you'll get a postcard pretty soon, we're just not sure when we're starting it.
Oh, yes, okay.
So I wanted to do a really beginning class to get everybody kind of focused on inside creates outside. Thinking, speaking, all of this stuff is really important. Let's not gloss over it. Let's get into it. Because if we get a handle on how we are creating our lives, we can create it any way we want. And so we're in class 6, and I think we've done a good job. Everybody is reminded, everybody is clear, everybody's focused. And now I want to move a little bit deeper. into some of the writings of Ernest Holmes and the teaching. Any questions or comments before we close? Good class, good class.
Yeah.
Write a new story, create a new life. The best of you, the best of you. Pick out what you're gonna give. Those of you watching online, please feel free to go to the Donate Now button and give a gift through PayPal. And what I know is that we live in an abundant universe. I am wealth, I am abundance, I am joy. I know that this abundant universe sustains us. It lifts us, it gives to us, and that we are in that eternal flow of life. I know that we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe, governed by spiritual law. And I know that as we give, we receive. So right here and right now, we get ready. I know that God has ways of giving us money that we've never even dreamed of yet. We open up our hearts to know that each one of us deserves to have an amazing life, a blessed life, a rich life. And we give this gift. And then we get ready to accept all that life has back for us. I know that we give out of our fullness, we give out of our trust, we give out of our faith, we give out of our knowing that all is well in our world, that we are good in our skin, and we live our lives as this amazing being that we are. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Breathe it in, breathe it in. There's gold dust in the air. There are opportunities, circumstances, situations, people, and money that are seeking us out. Our good recognizes us. Our good finds us. We open and embrace it and accept it. We really are prosperous. We really are rich. We do what we want to do. We go where we want to go. We buy what we want to buy. We are who we have come here to be. And I know that the entire universe supports us in that. I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. That as we give, whether it's a hug or a hand, whether it's money, whether it's a chance, that which we are goes with our giving. And I see it as light that pours forth from each one of us, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. It touches us, it blesses us, it heals us, it awakens us. And then it goes on out to cover this world, to touch, to bless, to heal, to awaken every being on this planet. Always here, always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I love you. Have a wonderful week. John will be here on Sunday.